Hello, this is Kate from dailytarotgirl.com, and this is your weekly oracle card reading. And this week I'm using the Magical Mermaids and Dolphins oracle deck. This is a deck that I've had for a long time and I actually haven't used it for a while, so I'm excited to break out these cards again. So before I get into the reading, I just want to let you know that I'm going to be doing a webinar on June 16th, and it's going to be on reading tarot using the Celtic Cross spread. So if you're interested in that webinar, I'm going to put a link as a pop-up in this video and also in the description of the video below. So if you're interested, you can check that out. Okay, so here we are. And I've got a shell here that I that I got off the beach a couple of weeks ago, and it's a really cool looking shell, and I don't normally, it's really like busted up, kind of gross looking, but I don't normally see shells like that on the beach here, so I thought I'd save it for my shell collection. Okay, so the first card, this is the beginning of the week, and this card says, oh, I always have a hard time with this card. So it says, accept heaven's help. You've prayed for help, so get out of the way and let heaven help you. I always have trouble because I always think of this as kind of a bit of a religious card. So it says you've asked for help, now get out of the way and let heaven help you. So the beginning of the week is about, I feel like this is about letting go and really releasing. I know in last week's reading I talked about kind of letting go of that need to control things and force things to happen, and I feel like that's what this card is saying. If there's something that you're wanting help with, you know, you can put out like a little mental message to the universe saying that you need help with this, but then you need to let it go. And you let it go by not constantly going over it in your head, not trying to figure things out mentally, like, you know, using your mind to try to figure it out, which it can be challenging to do that, to just kind of let it go. Give yourself a time limit. If there's something that's bothering you or that you need help with and you just can't figure it out, give yourself a time limit. So put that message out there that you need help with something, and then tell yourself, okay, for the next week, I'm not going to think about this. If I catch myself thinking about it, I'm going to just stop thinking about it, and kind of let it go just for a week and see what happens. And then pay attention to sort of like ideas that come to you, images, maybe dreams, you know, just sort of things like that that you wouldn't necessarily expect. So yeah, people that show up in your life to help you, just pay attention to some of those things that show up for you. So this is about, and I feel this card is also about kind of getting out of your own way. So if you're stuck on something and there's something you've been trying to either manifest, or a problem that you're trying to solve or figure out, or even like a decision that you're trying to make, whatever it is, if you've been stuck with this for a while, if you just continue trying to figure things out with the same level of thinking that you've been using and doing the same things, it's probably, chances are, you're not going to figure things out very quickly that way. So this is about getting out of your own way, and sort of stop doing what you've been doing that hasn't been working, and maybe try a different approach, or just simply try no approach for for a little while, which can sound kind of scary, but sometimes that's the most helpful thing. It's like when you it's like that theory that if you're working on like a math problem or something, just, you know, leave it and go do something, and then when you come back to it, you will probably be able to figure it out because your mind's kind of been working on it when you've been doing other things. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so the middle of the week we've got Dream Big, and this card says, let go of small thoughts about yourself and see yourself succeeding. And this is so important, especially if you're listening to this and you desperately want others in your life to believe in you, or you want other people in your life to give you positive encouragement and support. I think so many of us want our families and our friends to support what we're doing and to believe in us and be positive about what we're doing. And when they're not, it can be so infuriating. But ultimately, that is less infuriating or less upsetting if you are supportive of you. So if you believe in yourself and you can get a really clear visualization of yourself succeeding or doing well in something, and you support yourself, then you don't really need others to do that quite as much. So if a family member or someone doesn't support what you're doing, it's not quite as stinging and demoralizing or upsetting if you support yourself. It's still going to not feel good, of course, but it's not going to derail you. So I feel like the theme of this week really here, I always think of the center card as kind of being the general theme for the week. And this card's really standing out for me. The theme is about, I think, practicing, I don't want to say practicing self-love, but practicing like being your own advocate and being your biggest supporter. And I think that's tough to do. I think that can be really, really challenging in a lot of ways. So, see, like the card says, let go of the small thoughts about yourself and maybe even start to question some of the criticisms that you have about yourself. I think most of us have an easy time probably like criticizing ourselves or beating ourselves up about things and pointing out what we're not doing right and what we can't do. So instead of just letting go of that, because that's not realistic to just let go of that, start questioning it and start really looking at those beliefs and thoughts and start questioning them, because they may or may not be true. Regardless of whether or not they're true, it's not a belief that you need to have. It's not going to be helpful for you. So this is about, being your biggest fan and really supporting yourself in whatever it is that you're doing, and get that visualization, really see yourself doing well and see yourself succeeding in whatever it is that you're wanting to succeed in. So as we get to the end of the week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm just going to move this shell. We've got synchronicity. This is a really cool card. So it says, your prayers and questions are being answered by synchronistic events. Notice them in order to increase their flow. So this is about noticing synchronicity in our lives, noticing the coincidences that come up, noticing those, paying attention to them because they have a message for you. And yeah, it's really interesting when you start to notice synchronous events, like when you're thinking about a particular book and then the next day someone you meet gives you that book or mentions it in conversation or something. Or, you're thinking about a person and then they call you, or there's so many other ways that, those are just two examples that kind of pop into my mind, but there's so many different ways that synchronous events and coincidences can happen in our lives. And as you approach the end of the week, you might notice some synchronous events and kind of funny, eerie kind of coincidences that pop up for you. So, take note of these. You can jot them down in your journal if you keep a journal, but just kind of be on the lookout for those things. I think it's easy to kind of dismiss them and kind of write them off or not really notice them. And I notice in my own life, it happens so much that I no longer even see it as being amazing. It just kind of seems like a normal thing. And I don't see the beauty and the amazingness in it sometimes because it just happens so much. So just really kind of paying attention to that and seeing those synchronous events and coincidences as kind of like an answer to some of your questions. So if you've been sending out little prayers or calls for help or questions, kind of taking those synchronous events as kind of an answer or a hint or some kind of symbol, and really noticing them and paying attention to them and seeing kind of what those mean. So it looks like a really exciting week, and I feel like the theme of the week is feeling and being supported. So there's that theme of accepting help, kind of being your own support system, and then seeing those coincidences and synchronous events as being kind of an answer to your questions. So I wish you the best of luck this week. I want to say thank you so much for watching. My name is Kate, and you can